Let's go! Who's up next?
What's up, Kooplings? Welcome to the Xbox Empire PSVG's weekly power hour of Game Pass goodness. I'm joined this week with my Xbox brethren, Sean Capri. What's going on, my dude?
I am taking over. It is complete. I am here. Kevin, you're cast aside. You're never coming back. I've been pretty subtle about this takeover for a little while now, Donnie. You and I have been sort of like joking about it. The joke is over. I am now a full-on member of PSVG, and Donnie and I are the official hosts.
This is the show that Xbox fans need. I very much enjoy Kevin's devil's advocate, but I feel bad. Because if you're an actual Xbox fan, I could see them just being like, PSVG, there's just nobody over here that loves Xbox.
Come on, man. Come on, Kevin. He's coming up with he's really doing some backwards gymnastics to come up with an argument to play devil's advocate, which I do appreciate. And I have, because I listen to a lot of podcasts when I mow the lawn or do chores, Flux to Pose and PSVG. I think I happen to be listening to you guys all the time anyways. But I was mowing the lawn listening I think it was just last week. And I was like, I am uncomfortable with this point of view, and I just maybe that's good. Maybe I should be listening to things to maybe keep my own fandom in check. But I love Kevin, and I wish he was here, but I'm glad that he's not because it gives me an opportunity to podcast with you. I don't think you would ask me if you had Kevin for this week, and the Xbox Drive 2 weeks in a row taking over. So I love podcasting with you, man. So I'm glad we can make it work out.
Yeah. So listeners, Kevin will be back. Kevin is having a birthday party and family plans. So I did reach out to Coach Mo. He couldn't make the time work, and I was like, well, we just had Josh on.
Third string.
So I'll go reach out to Sean. No, I always feel like we reach out to you all the time, I feel like, when we have guest opportunities.
Yeah.
You've been on a bunch of shows. So I was like, let me see if I can find somebody not Sean. And I was like, no, I need Sean now.
Anytime, man. Honestly, anytime. Yeah.
Okay, well, before we get into it, and I do have a nice little setup of notes here. Before I get into it, let me thank those that produce the show over at patreon.com/PSVG. So thank you, Callow, Barry Cathcart, Josh, the Bonesaw Borboni, Chris McElfresh, Devin Tiles, Kyle Heyman, Paul Calico, Michael Masick, the Egg Shen himself, Zach Bradshaw, and Nick Fallhaber. Without you, the show is not possible. Sean, let's get into some Xbox news, and let's start here. The Xbox Game Showcase is official. July 23rd at 9 a.m. For those out there in nowhere land, noon for the rest of the world. Actually, noon. Summer Game Fest pre-show will be live with Jeff Keighley an hour before. Jeff Grubb writes, don't expect Xbox to show everything. It's gonna hold back some things for later this year, like Sony did. So, Sean, I got a lot of things. One, we know the date and time. Get excited. Yeah. Two, what are you expecting, hoping to see? Three, the last time we talked, which I feel like was 2 months ago, we were talking about this Cold War counter punch thing that Sony and Xbox is doing. And it looks like it's going to keep continuing. We're not going to know at the end of this month.
I don't want it. I feel like, and I have no reason to really feel this way, but I feel like Xbox has the winning hand on all fronts. And there's a number of things that have happened over the last little while that lead even more into Game Pass being as valuable as it is with games potential. I don't know if we're going to talk about this separately, but games being more expensive, Game Pass is going to be a big deal.
We are going to talk a lot about that.
I want them to just come out with it. You know, I don't know what has changed this generation versus previous where they needed to come out. Why don't they need to come out this early? Why, what is allowing them to just wait and wait and wait? And who's getting off on this is really the question. Who's really this tantric method of releasing the information?
It's a good word.
Just bringing yourself, bringing up their eyes a little bit, just a little bit of touchy.
Just a little edging.
I never thought of it this way, but now every time you get a little bit of just a little tickle from these guys, it's too much. I'm going to be a little bit of a, what I want, but what they should do, I have no idea. But I want price. I want them to be bold. I want the launch lineup. I want this to be their full shot.
Yeah. I
feel like
I'm actually with you, and I'm not saying that just to go along with you. I mean, that is my case, and I say it from this point. Sony doesn't have to do that. Xbox does.
Yeah.
They don't have the games. They just don't.
Yeah.
And if you said you listened to the shows with Kevin, you've probably heard me say it. I don't think there's anything Xbox can do to win over anybody like Kevin or more already ingrained in PlayStation's ecosystem than Kevin. So what's the point? What's the point in holding out? Like, there is no point.
First party front. Game Pass is the key. Yes. Game Pass is the key, and I've been loud about this thing. People are calling me stupid at first, but some people are starting to come around. Cyberpunk 2077.
There's a rumor about that.
Game Pass would do it, and that would also open the floodgates to
I still
anything
don't think so.
Would be possible.
I really don't think so.
I get it. It's very unlikely.
So I guess the point is, or let me rephrase. I don't think that's going to stop anybody that wants to buy a PlayStation 5 from buying a PlayStation 5. Does it give somebody maybe more incentive or at least thinking about buying an Xbox? Sure, I'll give you that. But I just don't think, I honestly, and I don't mean to sound defeated, I'm not, I'm very excited. I honestly just don't think there's anything they can do in a year's time from now to the next, this time next year. I don't think there's anything they can do to stop anybody from buying a PlayStation 5 if they already have one and that's what they want. They just don't. They don't have the games.
The other piece about it that there being the Cold War piece about it is like, number one, we don't know what the games that are going to be there on day one, but we also don't know about price. So I do think that there's a tremendous value proposition that can happen, and there's a lot of sort of like PR work that can happen as well in terms of what Microsoft is trying to do to like almost strong arm publishers into this free upgrade kind of system that they're really going towards, and making sure that obviously they have their own purview and their own portfolio of first party stuff where they can just go, yeah, smart delivery, no problem. But they're really having to work overtime to try and get other publishers to get on board with that as well.
Yep.
And as quickly as things turned downhill, going from 360 to the One with all the anti-consumer stuff, it just goes to show how much extra hard you have to work to go back uphill.
Yeah.
Because it was almost like there's so many other things that Sony and Nintendo does that I think are anti-consumer as well, but that we kind of give them the benefit of the doubt.
We just live with it because they make great games.
They make great games. Yeah.
That's it. That's all it comes down to. You just live with it because you want to play The Last of Us. You want to play God of War. So you just do it.
I think if they come in $50 less and they throw a strong offering on day one, and I think there's going to be, the other end of it is like, who cares about how many consoles they sell? They're about to do Halo 3 on PC, and we're going to see Master Chief Collection like launch up to the top of the charts on Steam. And so it's like, does that even really matter? Like, are they just laughing at the whole notion of like how many consoles you sell?
I definitely don't think they are. I think I do. And I told you this 3 months ago now. I don't think they're going to announce a price until Sony does. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Do you think we're going to price July 23rd? Because I don't.
Well, now when you say it like that, I don't, but I kind of want it.
I think we could get a date, but I don't think we'll get a price.
But it depends on the whole like Lockhart situation thing as well. Like if they are planning on revealing that at another date, I do think that price. Well, do you think that they are not able to price that out until they finalize the price on the Series X?
Yeah, I've said it. I think almost every show we've done since we've rebooted with the new feed. I don't see I don't see anything to gain by announcing the price for one and not the other. I think you need to price them both at the same time because the whole Lockhart's point is the cheaper value. And it would make no sense to me, I guess, to be like, here's Xbox Series X and it costs $500 and then wait a month and be like, well, here's Series S and it costs $300. Like, why? What's the gain from that?
Was it you who was bringing it up on the show, talking about like that these are expensive like pieces of gear that we're gonna have to kind of like plan for, like that they're not impulse buys?
Yes, they're not impulse purchases. Now the Series S, if it based on rumors and stuff, it gets close, right? Like they're talking, it could be. I've seen it reported as low as $250. I read that as $299. I don't think 250, but 250 is the magical number. 250 and lower. Now you're in impulse purchase territory for some. I was corrected many times in our Discord that 250 is not an impulse purchase for many. I think 250 is the video game adopted industry price for impulse purchase. That's the Wii. That's the 3DS. Like, that's where you start getting into people buying multiple consoles and themes and stuff like that. You can't do that at $500.
And that might be the strategy that they're aware of as well, that most people are going to be buying like repeat into the PlayStation brand. A lot of people are already into Nintendo, and they're like, well, how do we get into those households? And it's like, it's probably not with the Series X. It's so that system is for those people so that they can have access to Game Pass because they're hearing all about it, but they don't want to drop $500 on a brand new Series X system. So it's like it's a second system for you and I who will have a Series X if we want to have something somewhere else in the house, but can't double down on that first price. And for the other people who like to have all the systems, it's a totally like digestible price. It's not necessarily like impulse, as you mentioned, but I do think that it's palatable.
It's much easier than 500. Now, I expect the showcase to be exactly what it's titled, a game showcase. It'll be focused on games. That's why I think we might get a date. They might be like, you can play Halo, Infinite November 25th or whatever, and that might be the date that we take for the console, even if we don't know. I think they could do something like that. I expect we'll see Halo. I expect we'll see Fable. I expect we'll see Forza and Everwild and Hellblade. And probably whatever the initiative is doing.
I want to see. I don't think we'll see initiative. And I agree with you on all the first party front.
Oh, and I'm sorry. And Obsidian. We'll definitely see Obsidian. Yeah.
I know Ryan was talking about this when he was on the show, but he's really anticipating that WB will be an announcement. The WB Games purchase of those studios would be ridiculous. I'm seeing all these like dream tweets of like, imagine a Sub-Zero versus Glacius kind of a fight.
Let me go ahead. I wanted to talk to you about this. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way. News story. Right. According to the information, Microsoft has shown interest along with Activision, 2K, and somebody else in acquiring the WB game division, as has been reported for sale for the past month. This is the first time Microsoft has actually been thrown out in any sort of trade market rumors. It's clear to point out that this would not include the IP that the studios are known for. So just because you might get Rocksteady doesn't mean you get Batman. You'd have to license it. And then we've had a lot to say on Discord about this. So, Sean, let me just say this. I'm a little scared of this news and rumor because a month ago when this news came out, our Discord lit up with Xbox. And I know why. Right. Because people want like a true contender to PlayStation, and they look at those studios and they think, man, if Xbox had exclusive Batman, it would be Sony's rival. Well, one, it's not going to have the IP. Like, they're not going to give up the gaming IP property rights to Batman in this deal, just the studios. Now, there's also been people saying, well, it doesn't get Batman, so it's completely worthless. There's a lot here to this that I have to say, and I will start with the licensing thing. I would be hard pressed to believe that you would buy something from WB AT&T for over $2 billion. This apparently AT&T is looking for $4 billion. And Kyle had mentioned in our Discord, apparently so far offers are in the 2-ish range. All right, so let's cut the difference and say 3. I can't imagine that you're spending $3 billion for folks like Traveler's Tales and Rocksteady, and you don't have some sort of deal to include a licensed game or 3 or first right of refusal or something. There's got to be something in there, right? Like and then the opposite side of this, I can't imagine that AT&T, Warner Brothers, I'm putting them together because I'm not exactly sure where one starts and begins the other, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they would then want to relicense games like the Lego games to anybody else.
Right.
You already have a studio that knows how to do this. Like, why would you give Batman to somebody else? Like, I mean, unless it was really good, but why would you when you already have a sure thing?
Well, especially if it's part of the deal, then it's just like you get to sell the thing and then have like a constant feed of money back as well. So
I would imagine if you were buying it that you would have some sort of deal either for a number of games or maybe a
10 years or something like
a
EA
subsidized license or something like that. I would imagine that would come with it, or like a first right of refusal. Like, hey, we want to make a Batman game. Rocksteady, do you want it? No, then we'll give it to somebody else. But they always.
I mean, at the same time, like if you're going to throw $3 billion down for studios, then like what would it cost for you to go like, you know what, Batman is Xbox exclusive. Like it's the Dark Knight, it's a black box, like it totally fits. That thing would look amazing. I think like
I love it. I
feel like it doesn't really matter at all, but while we're just playing around with it.
Well, because I have serious thoughts about that too. Because here's the thing.
Like, why is that impossible?
So I'm going to be your detractor here because I was concerned when this first rumor came. I was like, oh boy, everybody's going to think Xbox. And when it's not Xbox, everybody's going to be upset and they're going to be angry. Yeah. And the reason that I say that is if you were to spend $4 billion on Rocksteady and Batman and Lego and Mortal Kombat, you're then devaluing them if you make them exclusive. They're now less valuable than what you just purchased them for.
Yeah. Well, this is my whole thing with Cyberpunk, is that maybe they get out of the exclusive game when it comes to certain things, like Minecraft Dungeons was not exclusive, and the way that they can balance that is like Freon. It's a first party studio, so it would be day and date with Game Pass, but you could play it somewhere else. But why the hell would you do that? So that could be something that really adds to the value of Game Pass, where maybe they would be, you might be right, that they may be still incentivized to release a Batman game on, or whatever it is, Suicide Squad or whatever, across all the different consoles, but still have like that extra edge in Xbox land that you
I would be expecting something like that. Like if this were to come true, like maybe some sort of timed exclusivity, definitely Game Pass, but eventually releasing somewhere else, because it really wouldn't make sense. It doesn't, or make sense is not the right word. I'm trying to make sure I word this carefully. It doesn't make as much sense for Microsoft to spend that much money on something like that as it does for Activision or EA. Because they were going to put the game everywhere. That's the other part of this.
Yeah.
Why would Xbox get into a bidding war for games that are already on their platform? Yeah. And you're bidding against people that aren't going to take them off your platform. It's not like they're bidding against Sony. It has to tie into
Game Pass then, because that's the primary driver to all this.
I mean, and look, Microsoft's got it. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. That's an all-in. That's a chips into the middle of the table. That's a big, big swing.
To me, those are the studios that you want to do it for. Like, and I've talked to Ryan about this on the Xbox Drive as well. Like, and I think you and I are similar on this too. It's like compulsion is like, I mean, cool.
Yeah.
There's a couple in there that they like Double Fine.
Yep.
Very quirky, but Ryan and I think talked
not Rocksteady, not Monolith.
Right? Not even close. No. Not even close.
Nope.
And not Mortal Kombat, which by the way is not even like maybe it'll make a comeback one of these days.
Still very big.
Like as good as it's ever been. It's bigger than it's ever been.
Could be better with Xbox branding.
Combined with Killer Instinct.
Master Chief in there, some Killer Instinct folks. So Mortal Kombat would be one of the IPs that they would just downright own, because that belongs to NetherRealm. So they would just own it. You make that exclusive. And here's the thing, ultimately the thing that I've been most perplexed by this entire rumor. I'm so shocked and stunned that nobody would piecemeal these out. Why would you sell the entire division in one bundle? Are you afraid that you can't get rid of, like...
You might be left with one or two?
Yeah, you can't get rid of TT or something like that? Because I don't know what their value is without the Lego license. Like, if they don't have the Lego license...
That's exactly why they're bundling it.
Yeah, that's the only reason that I can come up with it. Because, like, if you were to tell me Xbox is going to buy Rocksteady and launch a new IP, yeah, that makes sense. Or they're going to buy Mortal Kombat and NetherRealm and they're just going to make Mortal Kombat, that makes sense. Monolith, even though they are a great studio, like without their licenses and stuff like that, like it starts to make less sense. And look, man, I mean, they're just playing games with billions of dollars over there on tables and whatnot. I'm trying to think about it. I'm trying to be responsible in getting hype for this. Like, I can just imagine that somebody like EA has got to look at that and be like, we'll make way more money than Xbox if we buy it, because they're going to put it everywhere and they're just going to do what they do versus get into the whole exclusivity thing. And
I guess so. I think that this just lifts the overall like earnings potential of Xbox as a brand more than just like, it has to be more than just like the games that are sold. So I think it's a different ROI for each company, where for EA or Activision, it is just the game sold. But for Xbox, it's like it raises the value of the entire offering of Xbox itself. So you're selling really more Xboxes.
And you have a lot more faith in their long-term potential with studios like that in their wheelhouse.
I also don't think, like, I don't know about you, and I know that EA and Activision and Take-Two are, like, they're the biggest ones, but I don't feel like, particularly EA and Activision, for whatever reason, they don't strike me as, like, the chips all in. Like, they seem way more frugal, where EA is making, like, kind of investments in, like, these small studios.
So when I think Activision, I actually think Blizzard. I think of the opposite end of the...
Yeah.
And Blizzard, I definitely could see them being like, wait a minute.
Well, and that was probably one of the bets that they made that turned out so well for them to go and acquire, or I guess partner, or whatever that merger ended up being. But that was one of the big things. But I don't, for whatever reason, I don't see them dropping that kind of cash. Like, when they're laying off 800,000 people or whatever it was, or I can't remember, it was 800 people or whatever.
I'm still scared to see the Tencent news come up.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. I'm just waiting for
something. That might be an incentive for them to do it. It's just like to keep somebody else from buying them out from under them.
Yeah. Dude, it would be okay. So it would be incredibly exciting, you know, to have a studio like that. I am not outnumbered, but definitely I think I'm on the lesser end, at least in our Discord chats. Whereas I look at a studio like Monolith and Rocksteady, and with or without the IP, extremely valuable.
Yeah,
extremely valuable. You're talking about a studio that has proven chops. They've proved that they can make great games, and you can say it because of the IP. Doesn't change the fact that it was a great game. There have been games with IPs that were bad games. Like they are a good studio. You could just have them launch new IP. I have way more faith for them to launch a new IP than some studio we've never heard of. You know, so like I would take them even without the IP. If they were like Rocksteady's never making a Batman game again, I'd be like, okay.
Is it a PSVG podcast if somebody doesn't type on their keyboard? I don't think so. Who, and you may have already mentioned this, or it is Monolith who did
Lord of the Rings stuff.
Middle-earth Shadow of War.
Yep.
So it's like these guys, between that and Rocksteady, they've basically like perfected some of the biggest systems that we see in games right now. Like number one, the Nemesis system that we thought was going to propagate across all games, and just the way that we think about superhero games, period.
Yep. Big
like,
open world action
so
game.
Innovative. And it's not that I'm looking for them to just replicate the Nemesis system across new games, but like they have that capability, they have that ingenuity already without like the backing. And I know that I'm just like feeding into the hype here. It's probably
it's okay.
irresponsible.
I mean,
they got to be the front runners. It
I
seems
love
like they're
the
going to sell
hype,
them an hour. What?
And I'm just trying to quell myself because it just seems like it's too much to ask for. You know, it's like everybody, like this entire generation, everybody's been like, Xbox doesn't have the first party content. For them to start a new generation being like, boys, we're about to have it. It's like a dream scenario. I can't imagine it actually happening.
What if Phil just went to Satya Nadella and went like, all right, thank you so much for that blank check. I bought all the studios that I wanted. We're good. We're ready to launch the next gen. Like perfect. And then the next day it's like WB's for sale. Like, what do you mean they're for sale? I just told my boss that I'm done. And he's probably not going to look at this for another 3 months. Like, till next quarter or whatever it is. Like, I don't know what kind of free reign he has, but
I wonder.
It'll be interesting to see where they go because they're going to go somewhere.
Do we think Microsoft's like all in on this? Because it is a different Microsoft, right? It's not like Ballmer and Gates and stuff. Because I feel like, especially Ballmer, I don't know much about industry and Gates and stuff like that, but from what I know about Ballmer and his like the things he's done and his leadership style and like what he did with the NBA and how he like jumped in, I could absolutely see him be like, yeah, buy him, you know, but he's just kind of flippant like that with billions of dollars. I don't know, you know, our new executives, if they're that same way.
Yeah, I do get the sense that there's something else to the acquisitions that Phil Spencer has done over the last little while. Like it's more than just having like a stable of games and the IPs that are coming along with that. I feel like there's something, I don't know if it's like knowledge sharing or there's got to be something, some value add to having them all under the same sort of like brand of Xbox Game Studios, that it has to be more than just games sold.
Yeah.
From these studios. Like there has to be some sort of like multiplier when you're making that sort of investment. It has to be more than just you buy them now, you have the rights to sell it. And that's the type of thing that you saw with Minecraft Dungeons. Like with just Minecraft, the IP.
Yeah.
You take this thing, which everybody thought like, okay, it's this, everybody knows what Minecraft is. But Minecraft is more lucrative now than it's ever been.
Yep.
And that's the kind of thing.
It's other things. It's toys, it's t-shirts, it's all of it.
Which of course goes back to IP and maybe it's separate from developers. But I'm just trying to talk about like when you spend billions of dollars, you're looking to multiply that. You're not just looking to go like, now those earnings are mine.
The best case to make for it, honestly, and this is very important, is that right now we are seeing the new arms race isn't about, you know, cell processors and Blu-rays and CPUs. It's about content, and it's a content creation type of arms race. And as we move further and further into digital, into streaming, and eventually there will be a day where everything is in the cloud, it will be people that have valuable content and IP that survive, not people that just have, you know, bloated, you know, dev studios and things like that. It will be people that have content that people are willing to pay for. I know that Nintendo has that. I know that PlayStation has it. I think Xbox has it, but I don't think they have as much of it as the other two do. So if you're trying to make the best case for them, like, this is kind of what they need. They really need to start driving some more content, because Xbox has great content. But when I think about it, it's Gears and Halo, and, you know, a lot has been said about how people feel about that content already. It's not nearly the same kind of stable.
Yeah, for sure.
You did mention, I put this in here, and I put it in here just for you, to be honest with you. But Halo 3 finally arrives to the Master Chief Collection on PC July 14th.
Yes.
Are you excited, Sean?
Of course, yes. I love the way these things look and play on PC. You and I played Reach, throughout the whole campaign
Might
together.
Be the only, it's the only Halo game I'd recommend to others.
Yeah,
being honest.
Have you played? When was the last time you played 3?
I played 1 and 2 when I got the Master Chief Collection via Game Pass. Like, I don't know, 2 years. I don't know time right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I waited a little bit because I wasn't really digging 2. So I started playing 3.
You were digging 2? No way.
I stopped playing 3, I don't know, 6 or 7 chapters in.
Sure.
And then I played Reach, had a fun time with Reach. Reach is one that I'm like, oh, I like this game. And then I tried playing ODST and I was like, no, I'm not liking this one as much as Reach. So,
Reach is pretty tough to, I think, top. Honestly, like the stakes are the ultimate stakes in Reach in terms of like the story and
it's
the characters.
It's the one story that grabbed me. That's the thing that's missing with me and the other ones. It's the story.
See, and that's why I was surprised about 2. Like 3 is epic in terms of its battle and its scale and everything, but like 2 is super interesting. The way that it kind of goes back and forth, and like, I mean, I don't want to ruin another game, but it kind of gives you
it's fun.
Both sides. No, I don't want to spoil another game that other people are playing.
And I tried playing. Well, it's so funny. The long joke that I've had with Xbox Land and PSVG is that every time I beat one and I tell people I don't like it, Nathan's response is to play another one. He's like, you got to do the first one. And I do the first one. I'm like, I didn't like it. He's like, well, you got to do the second. The second one's better.
I think the second one is better. And I think like I'll go as far to say it's probably not going to rub people very well. I don't think the level design is all that good in 1 or 2, honestly. Like, I think that they got better at the level design. And that's where I think that actually 343 is better in some cases, especially in 4. I think 4 is an excellent, excellent game. And we're just getting closer and closer to that.
I did 5. I didn't like 5 at all. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I get it.
I was about 4 chapters into 5 and I was like, no, I'm not going to keep doing this.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, and even with 5, they took some risks on things like you could sprint, you could like zoom, like aim down sight, kind of things like that. Like those were things that you weren't supposed to have in Halo games, and they really broke some of that stuff in 5. So we'll see what they do with the Infinite.
So I put this here only just because I knew you were coming in. Like I do want to say is I'm getting less. I've reached the end of how much I want to hype. Like they've gotten all the hype they can get out of the Master Chief Collection from me. It's like, guys, we get it.
Oh, we should play together, man.
But that might be it, right? Because the other ones that I played solo, and we played Reach mostly together, the entire campaign. And
you got the best of the best experience on Reach. Like,
and I think that's it. Like when I talk to people that love Halo, they love Halo not because of Halo. What's the first thing they all say? Back when we had consoles hooked together, they automatically go to where they were and who they were playing with. They never even really talk about the story. Whereas I am playing it solely focused on the story. And I'm like, the story is not that good.
But that's what people talk about. They're like, all this lore in the UNSC and all these things. And I'm just like, I wasn't following any of that back in the day.
It's not that great. I'm hoping,
even though it's really,
I'm really hoping Infinite kind of soft reboots this a bit. I need to get kind of back in the ground level into Halo without all the extra stuff.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, do you think it's going to be like we're going to find out pretty soon, but like, is it going to be a traditional campaign, chapter by chapter, like running down corridors, that sort of thing?
Kevin says no. Kevin's all going battle royale, service game. Yeah, that's where Kevin's going.
I've just heard battle royale just like popped up out of nowhere. People talking about Infinite. It's just like, where did that?
Kevin has a really good point. Kevin, I really liked what he was talking about. It's not necessarily what he said, because I think a lot of people have said battle royale and stuff like that. Like that's just where the trend is going. But Kevin put it differently. He was like, these kids are already addicted to Apex and Fortnite, and this is what they do. He's like, you've got to get that generation of player invested in Halo. And I had never actually thought about that. I was like, no, that's spot on. Because my son, like when we first got Xbox and the Master Chief Collection, he was digging Halo until he discovered Fortnite, and he's never touched a Halo since.
Yeah.
And I think that's way more important than my experience with Halo. Right? I'm probably too far gone for Halo. But there's thousands of kids out here that are, playing Call of Duty Warzone and all these other things. They really do kind of need to have something for that group of people. I think that was spot on analysis.
Yeah, I hate to agree with Kevin, honestly. I really, I'm sure you do as well. But I think you're right about that. And Call of Duty, I think, has proven now with its sort of second go at Battle Royale that there is value of some of these gigantic properties coming around to Battle Royale. It's almost like where some of them looking and going like, well, I'm like, were they too good for it? Like these are these free to play games that are popping up everywhere. And I think there was a moment in time where I think like a game like Call of Duty had to figure out how to do it properly. We saw games like Well, I guess those more hero shooters I'm really thinking of, like Lawbreakers, and there's a lot of free to play, just team based kind of shooters that really seem to pop up. But I feel like the window to get into Battle Royale is closing, as I think Hyperscape just came out, or is it Tech?
There's a lot of options.
Like, it is, and it's just like, how much space do you have for that?
How hard is it to do that if you're limiting to a specific console and PC?
I mean, I think that's the thing that is really in Xbox's favor, is that you're going to play with all these generations on the same game. Halo Infinite is going to be on Xbox One, Series X, PC, Lockhart, or whatever. It's like, you talk about the exclusivity being a diminishing factor. It's like, well, not if you think about the family of consoles and all the different places that you can put on. It's like, actually,
to me, you're just pointing out that there's a large user base that just doesn't have access. Potential user base that, if you're comparing game to game, Warzone versus, let's just say, Halo, Battle Royale, whatever, that's not on PlayStation. There's a huge amount of people that can't play it. Yeah. And that's a huge amount of people that will play Fortnite and will play PUBG. Like, they have access to those other things. So I always think it just kind of puts you at disservice from the get-go. Now, maybe you don't need all of the devices, if it's good. There's always that. And I do think the whole Halo Infinite tie-in, I would hope that maybe it starts to go the Destiny route, where this is Halo Infinite. And every 2 or 3 or 4 years, we're going to add new content to Halo Infinite. And it's just going to keep getting better and better and better.
Those are the two kind of like styles of games that we're really looking at when we talk about shooters. Is like the Destiny's got kind of like keep going on forever. And then there's the Battle Royale. Yeah. Like, would it even is it too crazy to think where you have like a Battle Royale that is available on a PlayStation, if you can imagine, but the core game is like the Destiny game is on Xbox? I don't know. Like, that's probably too far out there.
It probably is, but if there was somebody to do it, it would be Phil.
I mean, yeah, for sure. But at the same time, like, it could be a little bit too far. But anytime that you have multiplayer baked into the conversation, that like exclusivity factor is going to come on in.
Yep.
Like, no matter what, it's so far from a concern, or much further from the concern, if you're just talking about a single player experience, which is why Sony gets to thrive on that, because their first party offerings are single player experiences. You can go cry yourself to sleep for 3 weeks after playing their games, and then people seem to like that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, that's spot on. And it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see. We're going to see it, right? We're going to see.
What do you want? What do you want? Like, okay, so those are the Battle Royale Destiny thing. Like, but what do you like? Do you want Destiny in Halo?
Both. I mean, so I'm not into Destiny, right?
Yeah.
But I would like to be in a different way. My issue with Destiny isn't the gameplay. It's really the organization of the game. I get all kinds of weirded out with the map and where to go and how to do it. And like, I'm dropped in the overworld, but then I got to go to another overworld, but there's people running around, and, it's like, I'm always confused. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing, where I'm going. So, maybe a more streamlined Destiny, I would be really excited to. I wanted it to be Anthem. Anthem was the one. I was like, I'm going to be there day one. I'm going to play with everybody else. I'm going to learn all the things. And then Anthem was Anthem. I wished Anthem wasn't Anthem. And if Halo wants to go that way, I hope it does it for me. I tweeted this the other day. Halo Infinite is going to be the first Halo I'm there for on day one. I've never been there. And I've had Xboxes. I've had all of the Xboxes, and I've never been there for Halo. This will be the first one where I have access to play it. I hope that it does something for me. I would love nothing more to be in on the Halo thing. I just never have been.
I've never been like totally like, I wouldn't like stay up overnight to like go for a midnight release of it or anything like that. Like, I've never been, cancel plans or anything, but I've really, really enjoyed, like, I just want to be like fair and transparent with like my level of fandom.
Sure.
Like, I've never had like a Master Chief cardboard cutout, sitting beside in my room or anything like that. I'm not quite there, but I feel like it's a great game. I think 343 has a great hold on it, and I don't have like that. Maybe that's what allows me to enjoy 5 as much as I did, and that's why I enjoy 4 as much as I did, because I don't have like the emotional lock-in with the original trilogy and the add-on games as well that a lot of people have. So I'm like, I just like the feel of this shooter. I think it's great, and I think the weapons look and feel cool.
It's really,
the music is awesome.
It's like a tale of two existences. I believe for games like Halo, and I would say Gears, I would really say any studio that's literally devoted to making one game, I think the Destiny model makes sense for single player content. Big time. Yeah. Now, I think any multiplayer shooter right now, if you're not doing some sort of battle royale, it doesn't have to be 100 people or anything like that. I'm not saying all that. If you're not doing battle royale styled multiplayer in online first person shooters, you're missing the boat. That's where all the money is. That's what everybody's doing. You can have firefight and big team battles and capture the flag and whatever else you want to call it.
But can you charge for it?
I think so. And I think Xbox has that ability to do it with Game Pass. Because of Game Pass, they can.
I think Call of Duty is doing it like picture perfect. Like that for a franchise
they release kind of both.
They want to sell you that $60 package at the front of the year, and then somewhere along the line they're going to drop like they did. How they did Warzone was like absolutely perfect, and I don't know that anybody else could have done it. Like Battlefield tried to really like insert a battle royale mode in afterwards, but it was never free apart from it. So it was like it really took some balls, I think, for Activision to go, this is how we're going to do it. That they're going to sell it this way, but it's free somewhere else. But
maybe they do release the multiplayer as a free thing, but I think it's weird because you've got different apps and stuff like that. You know, like I don't want one to detract from the other.
That's the thing is I think Warzone completely takes over, but this is a really safe way for them to probably get out of the single player thing that they did. Although Black Ops 4 sold really, really well, even though it was no single player campaign, just multiplayer stuff. They had Blackout in it as well. So who the hell knows, man? Nothing like it's actually a small sample size when we look at these things. There's only like a dozen or so games that really people talk about. Yep. And it's still
there's only so many that can actually
genre.
Exist.
Oh, for sure. But the other thing too is that with any of these multiplayer games, even beyond Battle Royale, there's always a moment where the community is going to be pissed. And there's always a moment where like that's something that you can almost count on. Like it's I'm being a little bit facetious, but at the same time, it's like you can count on a disenfranchised community of players and a giant game going like, we're just looking for whatever the next thing is. That's true. If you could somehow like magically time like Destiny screwing something up or Call of Duty screwing something up and everybody's like, I don't like what they did with Fortnite, and they just exodus en masse. And maybe Halo's there to catch everybody. So I don't know. That's
maybe.
I love that you don't want to count on it, but it's going to happen.
We'll find out in 20 days, right? 20-ish days, 15 days, however many days, we'll find out. And you have to think that this will be a giant portion of the show. We should get a full-on blast of Halo Infinite.
I mean, they're doing a whole like demo
single
thing.
player. Yeah.
They're doing the week of demos or whatever. And Brian and I think that it's very possible that they drop a Halo demo.
I think it's possible.
On the One X and the PC and everything. Like you could play like a little something.
Like Wasteland and Forza because I think they're easier bets, but I definitely think they could drop a Halo demo. It could be a multiplayer thing, or it could be like a one-level solo thing. But it would make sense to do a little stress test during that event and kind of make an event out of it, for sure.
Part of the funny thing is that I had a multifaceted kind of prophecy where I'm like, okay, if they can get us hype, like if they can keep the hype train going with Halo Master Chief Collection on PC, then I think it does make sense to keep going with that. Like last week's episode of the Xbox Drive was called Halo in July. And I'm like, because I thought there was going to be a demo. Turns out there's going to be Halo 3 on PC. Like, I think that there could be something to this.
Yeah.
I have nothing but my gut, but we got
especially think about if they actually have a battle royale mode.
Exactly. They
could do exactly what Hyperscape just did and be like, hey, Halo Battle Royale, play it on your Xbox for a week. And everybody streams it and everything. And it's like, play it on Xbox Series X in a couple months.
And it will get rid of it's probably not going to happen. Like these are things that I like really get loud about, but I want to make sure that I'm clear that I think that it is unlikely that will happen. However, if they were able to have a Halo Infinite multiplayer demo of some sort, it will shut up the people who say, well, the games that are on the last gen or the current gen, like the now gen, are going to be held back. They're not going to look very good. They're not going to play very good. But if they can prove that they play just fine, then this whole notion of like cross-gen stuff, it proves its point. Like before the next gen even comes out. So people who aren't ready to upgrade,
as long as it's good.
Okay, well that's fine. If it's good, then I'll play it here, and that's all they care about.
Yep. Sean, I really want to ask you before we get off the 23rd thing. We expect Fable to be there.
Yes.
They have to show Fable, right? Not like a logo. Like I need to see what Fable is supposed to be. You can get away with like Joanna Dark logo. I need to see Fable.
I think he needs to. I don't think you can do any of that logo stuff. At this point,
I agree
you need to really show.
You can have one.
Like, if you're going to show something,
if it's big,
maybe
you can have one big thing at the end.
Maybe if that's what the initiative is doing, if that's that's how they want to do it, they should just like call it the Vince Zampella. Just have some dude in a chair and walk up to and go like, "What are you working on?" It's like, "Yeah, we're rebooting Perfect Dark. No big deal.
That'd be cool."
And just that'd be what it is.
But I'm with you. We all want to see the games, not logos.
Oh, big time.
Like we've seen logos. Give us games.
Sony did a couple of really, really powerful reveals where you didn't know what you were looking at until all of a sudden you're like, son of a bitch, that's Kratos. Like when we first saw God of War, like you didn't know that was God of War.
That's true.
Until you're like, oh, I'm recognizing like that pattern or whatever that is. Like that looks like is that an axe? Like he doesn't hold an axe, but like that could be, oh snap, look at that. And you'd hate to see them kind of copy that, but there is a powerful,
I'm hoping that's Fable.
When you're like,
I've been saying that the whole time.
That's everybody. Kind of what I'm getting at.
I think a lot of Fable fans have in their head what Fable is, but I've been saying this whole time, like Fable to me is almost, like I love the old Fables. Don't get me wrong. What Lionhead did, I actually liked. I liked the British humor and the fart jokes and things like that. I got it. So I was cool with it. If they showed me something similar to that, I'd be as excited. But when I heard that Playground was doing Fable, my head immediately went to, it could be a whole new Fable. Like, I wonder what a whole new Fable to somebody else is. And I'm expecting to see like 5 seconds of a trailer, going through a forest or something where I don't recognize what it is. Like, is it Fable? Like, am I going to have that feeling? Is this Fable? Because that's kind of what I expect.
And it does this wonderful thing that goes like, it would excite somebody like you who has liked Fable in the past. And for people who have no connection to it at all, go like, well, this looks great.
Something new.
Like this looks new and fresh instead of the next version of an old thing where like it always
Fables were never like good looking either.
Exactly. That's what I would be worried about is if they just kind of continued on with that, it wouldn't impress anybody who doesn't have that nostalgic connection to Fable.
Yeah. Now,
it's perfect timing.
My head immediately went there because of the Playground connection. I don't think they make games that look bad. Whereas like Fable 3 didn't look great, but I still enjoyed playing it. But at the time I was like, this is not a great looking game. And even now, it's a little rough. But like I've been saying it. I'm hoping in my head, I have this vision. I don't say it's what I'm hoping for because I'm open to anything, but in my head, I have this Sea of Thieves like style, gorgeous, beautiful, cartoonish styled world, but Fable action adventure, sword fighting RPG thing in my head. That's kind of where I'm going, but maybe it's like super realistic or something. I have no idea.
Well, this is a studio that like arguably has made an incredible that they've done this great thing where like racing games don't inherently lend themselves to just I want to keep playing this racing game.
Did you hear it? I think Kevin said something like and I may be throwing this at Kevin. If this is wrong, I apologize in advance. I think you said this, but maybe it's somebody else. I think Kevin said something like, can they make an RPG? All they make is racing games. And my head, I didn't say it when he said it, but in my head, I was like, Forza Horizon is an RPG.
It really is. Yes, you're absolutely right. It totally is. And that's kind of where we're on the same wavelength here. Yeah. That they do it without like a compelling protagonist, that they do it with like a car.
It's a car.
Like that your interaction is you're driving a car and I want to do all of the things. I want to do all the side quests within this like open world RPG kind of thing. And it's like, what could be less compelling than like you just get a shiny new car? But yet I'm searching all over the place for these old garage things.
You gotta get new cars, you gotta upgrade, you gotta get new stuff,
I'm doing
make
everything.
It faster, stronger, better.
The progression that they make you feel in a racing game is perfect. Like when the first rumors came out that they were going to be working on a game like Fable, it's like, of course they are. Like they've mastered this. There's nothing else that can be done in my mind in an open world racing game. So they're perfect. And also it's in Playground in UK as well. So I don't think that you'd be losing a lot of that, maybe that British humor as well.
I'm wondering how many of those folks might have come over or been brought back.
I was going to say it takes just hire one of the writers. And
you don't need all of them. I always thought, I was sad to see Lionhead close only because I meant it was the end of Fable, but I never thought Lionhead was like like what I would consider like a strong upper echelon developer. Maybe that's wrong of me, but I don't think of them in the same rights that I think of like a Rocksteady or a Sucker Punch. They were never there. Playground's getting there for me. Like now I'm starting to prop Playground. I'm like, these are one of the best developers in the biz. They're really good.
Big time. Totally undervalued. And I think because of the racing game thing, it has this niche, people who play it, they love it. But
this generation, they've been Xbox's best studio.
Yeah. Probably.
That would be my opinion. If you asked, if you're like, Donnie, out of all the games and developers that made those games for Xbox this generation, who was best? Playground.
You didn't love Gears 5 that much. I think Coalition had a really
like
strong
Gears 5. Don't get me wrong. I like Gears 5. It's good. Yeah. It wasn't the story that I wanted. Not like in The Last of Us 2A, but like, I kind of feel like Gears 5 kind of spins it didn't progress a whole lot from Gears 4, where I expected to go on a Gears 4-like journey. And I didn't feel like we had that. Now there's personal character progression, right? But in the arch of the story, has the story really moved far? I don't think so. Whereas I think it sets up for a big closing chapter with 6. I think we'll get a great end to the trilogy. But like when I think of Gears 4 and all that you did in Gears 4 in terms of, right, you find Kate, you protect the village, you go to the thing, you go underground, you come back up top. You know, like there was a lot of going on. It really moved this whole thing to the end. And then the end had this big reveal and it left you on this giant cliffhanger. How much did we really progress that, the over story, not Kate's story? So that's where you got to like differ. The overarching plot of the game, how much did we progress it in Gears 5? Not really much, like just a little bit. I need to go
back and play that. I was very distracted by the new set of characters and just going like, I don't care about any of these people. Like, it wasn't even just that they weren't Marcus Phoenix or anything. It was just like, I didn't like I liked the hulking, just giant ridiculousness that was Marcus Phoenix and Dom. Like they all looked insane, and I liked that. And everybody was like almost like too skinny in Gears 4. So I was really thrown back by that. And also, even like characters like Oscar just didn't really do it for me. It almost seemed clownish.
I got you.
So I feel like maybe now that I've had that like first go at it, because I've never played it more than once. So maybe I could go back now that that's what that first hit is kind of over and done with. I could play it for the game that it is. And it probably does deserve an additional go.
It should be worth mentioning here that you are the Gears multiplayer player that I have never been. You know how to roll with your Nasher and you do all the multiplayer, right? I don't play that. So when I play Gears, Sean, it's an Uncharted like experience for me. I'm sitting there, and when I hear things and references to people of the past, I have a wiki up and I'm looking them up and I'm tying the connections. Like it's all about the lore. And Gears 5 didn't progress the lore as much as Gears 4. Gears 5 totally progressed as a game. The open world sections and all the different stuff and the different combat elements they brought in with the elements and all that's fantastic. So don't get me wrong. I'm not down on Gears 5. I think Gears 5 is a great game. I very much enjoyed it. But if you're asking me who's their best studio, Playground.
Damn.
I think they're better.
I mean, it's hard. I think
Forza Horizon 3 and 4 are better than Gears 4 and 5. And that hurt. It hurts me to say it, but like I'm a Gears fan. I love Gears. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I don't think. I think two things can be true at the same time.
I got all the pops. I'm just being honest.
I was just gonna bring up Gears Pop. Think about all the things that they did. Gears Tactics, sort of. I guess I'm not really sure how that really worked out. But yeah, I think it just for the most part, people really kind of poo-poo all over the Xbox studios. And there's moments where it's just like, that was incredible. We just didn't even know how to appreciate it.
I don't do any racing game but Horizon. And that includes Motorsport. Yeah. Horizon is like a whole new thing for me. It's completely took me in a whole new place. I'm like, I didn't realize racing games could be this.
Oh yeah. I've been playing racing games on Xbox since Project Gotham on the original. That was the first game I bought on Xbox. So but I kind of went away from it. I thought like every Need for Speed was starting to feel the same. And I didn't really understand like when that went open world. I'm like, it didn't really draw me in. And then I actually got a review code for 6 when I was writing for We the Nerdy. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll play this. And I'm like, son of a bitch, speaking of RPG, that was me realizing that if I approach this racing game like an RPG where I'm going to like level up and I'm going to acquire this new tune-up or anything like that, it's
Horizon.
And then I get to go back out there. And it is. And then I went to Horizon, which I totally ignored before too, because again, didn't understand it.
And I give all the props to Nathan. Nathan was like, you've got to play it. You got to play. And I felt like for months, he was like, you've got to play Forza Horizon 3.
Yeah, man.
And it was until I played it. And once I played it, I was like, I will never play another racing game. It was like, this is the only racing game I ever want to play from now on. I just get lost. I get lost for hours at a time when I play it.
Dude, I would wake up at 5 a.m. to play it.
It's a Far Cry thing. Like when I played Far Cry 5, I would just play endless until I had to stop.
That's a good comparison.
That's how I played Forza Horizon 3 the first time. Once I got in and started figuring out I was done. I didn't stop playing for like weeks. Yeah. Like weekends at a time would go by. It's just, I'm just racing around, listening to the music, jumping the ramps, breaking the boards. I don't know. It's just comfort food. I don't know. Whatever it is, I like it. I'm digging it.
And I would love for like Forza Motorsport to make that jump as well. I think that most people have kind of come around to Horizon as a series that people should pay attention to. But like Gran Turismo is a franchise that sells a huge amount for Sony. And I don't know that Forza Motorsport is that for Microsoft. And I would love it to be, because I think there's a lot of people who agree with me to say that it is a way better game. Like it's way more approachable. It's got way more accessibility. It feels better. I think it looks better. They've completely leapfrogged over what Polyphony is doing with Gran Turismo, in my opinion. And I'm also saying that because Babbitt's in the chat. So I want to make sure I get a couple knocks at PlayStation.
I agree. But yeah, we've got PlayStation fans that would disagree. But if I got to kill us off this train, because we keep talking about Forza, I'm not gonna complete everything by your 8:00 out. So
all right, man.
All right. I want to talk about Fable. Like, right, we're gonna see Fable in Everwild, the 23rd. Like the things I'm excited: Hellblade, Fable, Everwild. Those are what I'm excited about, which I feel like a lot of Xbox fans probably aren't coming into that day with that. That's where probably I'm coming into that day.
No, probably not.
All right, Sean, a lot has been said about the following news story over the past week. NBA 2K, if their listings are raising the standard price of their video games to $69.99, $70 for next-gen SKUs, ending the past 15 years that we've had at the current $60 price. Now, you've already mentioned this, but I want to weave this story into this. Xbox reportedly has been discouraging developers, telling them you cannot charge upgrade fees for games. So if you buy a game on Xbox One X, you can't get the $10 fee to upgrade. Now, they haven't stopped people from bundling. You could sell them both together at one price, right? So there's some loophole stuff around, but at least I'm going to give them props. I'm going to give them a clap here. They're trying, it feels like. It feels like they're trying to push their smart delivery approach. This is something they believe in. There's a lot to say here. I have a lot of notes here, but let's kick off this way by answering a question we got from Robbie. I'm upset to hear that games might be $70 each with the next consoles. Will raising the standard price change how either of you buy games? I already wait weeks to buy games now as the price drops within a month or so. Do you think this increase might mean less games are sold overall?
Less overall? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that there will be a short-term hit where this will be very fresh and the sticker shock will impact people for sure. So I think that it's actually good that a game like this, that I think people have a little bit more price elasticity towards, where they're going to buy it. They're just going to buy it. They are habitual in nature. They buy annualized things. And this one costs like $10 more. They're locked in. Like they're pretty much there. So for this one to come out of the gate, probably not. For other games, maybe. And I think people will be a little bit more discerning if they buy if they buy 5 games per year, maybe they go down to 3. If they buy 10, they go down to 7 or something like that. But I do think that, and I said this on the Xbox Drive as well, that I think it will normalize, honestly. And Ryan and I are Canadian, and we've seen this happen recently. We saw a jump in how much games cost us in terms of dollars, because our dollar is so weak that we kind of got a head start on this. They increased to $80 for us now. So, and I don't think that it really, like I said, it at first is like, ooh.
Is that the publisher increasing the price on you, or is that the government?
No, it's just the dollar doesn't go far. Like our $80 is worth $60 US.
Okay. So it's the same price equivalent.
Right. Like we don't hold US cash. I got you. So it does start to like, it takes $80. And none of us, like when our dollar got worse, none of us got paid that much more. It's not like that much more cash was just around.
Yeah.
So we've seen this before. So we'll see it again. And actually, if we really look at the dollar, kind of like the exchange rate, we're coming off easy on this. This $10 increase is a $10 increase for you, and it's a $10 increase for us. But the exchange rate would suggest that it should be like a $15 or $20 increase coming to the next gen. So Canadians are laughing. We've seen this before. I think at first people will probably hold off, and it's a great time to jump onto Game Pass. Why would you want? Why is anybody buying games on day one? Just go on to Game Pass, and if nothing, like you'd love to see them say, we see games are going up in price. Game Pass is going to be this price until at least this point in time, and then we'll update you at that time. I don't know if we'll get that kind of transparency, but to say Game Pass Ultimate is $15 a month from here until 2022, and I don't know. I think that would be great, but yeah, I don't know. Are you gonna you buy everything anyways? Like I don't know.
I do buy a lot of things. My first reaction to this was it probably means I'm a little bit more conservative on risk taking. I probably for example, a lot of the marketing got me into Rage 4. I was never into Rage, but I saw the marketing. I was coming off of Far Cry, and I was like, screw it, I'll give it $60. There'll be probably less of that, right? Where I'll just be like, I'll wait a little bit more. Now, I have a lot of, I wrote down some personal notes. I had a lot of notes here that I wanted to kind of bring up. So feel free to bounce off of me. A lot of the people that are defending this, and I want to be clear, I'm okay with game costs rising. I am.
So am I.
But I think it's for different reasons than a lot of people are either defending or using to justify it. I think the most thing that we've heard justified reason is inflation. Obviously, they're just saying, look, we haven't risen the games in 20 years, and 20 years ago, like $60 was different than it is now. And I get that. That's true. But here's the issue with that argument is that our consumer purchase power has gone down. $60 in like 2005 bought you more than it does currently now in terms of like the global gross national product type of thing. But even more so than that is it's really hard when you hear the inflation argument. It comes off like, we're not making enough money, I think, to a consumer. I think many consumers see this price and they're like, wait a minute, you're not making more? Because we hear the devs and we hear the publishers, and maybe the publishers more so than the devs. We hear publishers going, it cost, tenfold to make a game now than it did. I saw gamesindustry.biz had somebody, from some, I don't know, marketing group or investor, claim. They said that it took Madden in like 2005 was like $25 million game. And then Madden in 2018 is like a $75 million game. So they're like, look, it costs so much more money to make. We have to charge you more. Yeah. That doesn't explain though why in the last 3 years gaming profit and revenue overall is up 10 billion. And while you made more money, and I say I'm specifically shouting at EA, Activision, but honestly, just global game revenue is higher in 2019, all-time record, than it was in 2018, which was an all-time record, than it was in 2017, and you're making more money in 2015 than you were 2013. So, and I'm not saying that
because it ignores how many gamers there are. It totally ignores like how many people are buying the game.
So it's weird if people are like, these games cost so much more to make, and it's like, but you made more billions of dollars than you've ever made. So obviously you can afford, like, if you're telling me Madden cost $75 million to make, it's like, dude, you made $3 billion last year. You can make 18 Maddens. You're good for the next 20 years. Like, it's
a simplistic way of looking at it.
It really is. And I wrote down some things. I think it's interesting. Did you know how top heavy like game publishing was? Last year, this is from 2019. Out of the, I don't know, it was like $13 billion that gaming made. 80% of it went to 24 devs. Or publishers.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So like Sony, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Nintendo, like, the big wigs, Take-Two, EA, Activision, they made 80% of the thing. So it's very top heavy. And you see that the games that are going to be pushing this, I think, are coming from that top heavy side.
Yep.
So it's really interesting because it's like, if you peel back, here's ultimately, I'm saying all this to say the main point that I want to say. I think capitalism weeds this out, right?
I totally agree.
So I'm not really concerned about it at all. If people don't think your game is worth it, by the way, I don't think NBA 2K is worth $70, right? So I don't expect many people will pay $70 for it, and eventually the price will come down. And we already know how fast prices already come down. It was actually one of the things that I've heard a lot is people go, well, maybe raising the prices will encourage people to explore different prices. No, it won't. Because if you're a publisher, you're going to want to sell it. No. If you're a major publisher, you're going to sell it for the new normal.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like across the industry, like the fact that like the ceiling is now $10 more, you're going to see more exploration from.
I think competition drives that more than the ceiling. I think if you're an indie game player, I don't think you now think you can raise SteamWorld Dig 3 to $40 instead of $30 or $30 instead of $20.
That's the interesting thing too, is
I don't think that'll happen because the competition won't allow it. Now,
well, and you're right about like capitalism marking it all out, because you see it even on like Nintendo eShop of like, when a game goes like, or even The Division 2 sold for like $3 and still like, it's a multiplier. You can't just look at a single fact. You can't just look at the dollar amounts. Like, so how many people are going to buy that? That's
exactly my point when people are like, it'll come out at different prices. No, it won't. It'll come out at the highest price first, and then they will explore at different prices after it comes out. But there's no reason not to go for the highest price while you can, like at launch. Like that's where your biggest money making opportunity. The thing that
there's some people who pay $20 more for a game so they could play it 4 days early. Yeah. Like if you think about like a game from like launch until 4 weeks or 6 weeks after launch, like the price just goes down. It's like, well, if you go ahead of when it launches, people are actually paying more for it anyway. So there's a market for every price point.
I would love for Cyberpunk to be like, it's $100. You know why? Because it's that freaking good. Because it's the best.
Chrono Trigger or something like that. Like, wasn't that? I feel like Marty Slevo was pointing that out. That some games on Super Nintendo were like they're just massive. So like, well, that's a giant cart. Yeah. So
I'm totally fine with that, and I'd also be just as fine with Hellblade, being a 12-hour game and being $60. I don't really subscribe to the price per hour type of subscription, but I do recognize that certain games are massive. They take much longer and much more effort to build, and I don't mind them charging for it. I don't think sports games are that. And I think that's the issue that I have with this is by one big publisher doing it, if they all follow suit, then every game will get that same treatment. Yeah. And I don't think every game deserves that same treatment. It's honestly like we have a AAA space that we all acknowledge, Call of Duty, EA and all that. But then there is like 10% of that AAA space that's better than that. It's, it's quadruple A space. That's like a next level.
I think you bring up an excellent point that we're making an assumption that like all games are going to come out day and date at $80 or wait, $70? Yeah, $69. We definitely need to be saying 69. You guys don't have to round this one up. It can be $69. But what if like each kind of big publisher treated this a little bit differently? Like what if, and I said this on the Xbox Drive as well, but like what if Microsoft comes in and goes like, we know everything else is going up. Xbox games are on Game Pass and they're $60 still.
Yeah.
Like it does create a bit of like,
I think when that happens, then I think these folks will stop. So that's the thing. You can only do this together. You can't do it. And there's a part of it that's like, read the room a little. And I feel bad because the timing, this is the right timing to do it. Like if across the industry, they agreed that they wanted to raise the prices, the start of a new generation is the time to do it. Just bad timing that your start of your generation is in like this global pandemic that millions of people are without a work. And it's like, guys, read the room.
But I think that's the whole point.
You made billions of dollars last year and you're like, we need more.
You can read the data though. You can read the data that people value. They place greater value on entertainment now than ever before. And it's never been more like specifically demonstrated than we're seeing right now, where games are selling like crazy. Consoles are flying off the shelves. People are spending more on gaming now than ever. It's not like the unemployment situation has really hit or impacted this industry. So overall, people they place more value in games, so the price should go up. If you value something greater, the price will go up.
Yep.
And people are buying things and buying games in droves right now. So it is natural that maybe it's reaching a fever pitch and like, well, we could actually charge more for this. There's money being left on the table.
Yep.
And I don't have any sort of delusions that the price goes up to 70. Now they can stop nickel and diming us with all the DLC and whatever microtransactions that are happening.
Those
will absolutely still be there. Most definitely. You don't
That's a part of it, right? Like when you have folks, especially 2K of all people, they make so much money, and like I actually stopped buying their games. I bought every 2K game all the way leading into this gen. I love basketball. I'm actually a huge basketball fan. A lot of people don't know that about me. Me and Devin will rap about basketball for hours. I got off of them, one, because of Game Pass and EA Access. Like having access to an NBA game for EA Access, that kind of killed the need to spend $60. But then I started hearing all of the slot machines and casinos and I was like, no, God, no. Why would I want to do that? And they're going to keep doing it. They're not going to stop, right? Yeah. Like, why would they? They're already making enough money. But and that's just one small example. But I look at like Madden. Like, are they going to raise the price to $70? Because it's like, you're already doing Madden Ultimate Team. You're already making hand over fist with this. They've shown like how much money they're making.
Yeah. That's where it can be really interesting to see like where one can leverage their strength, like EA can leverage its strength in like microtrans. I think they probably make more in their Ultimate Teams than 2K does in any sort of I don't even know what kind of microtransactions they would have. But yeah, maybe that's 2K's way of justifying it. We'll kind of see where EA lands on all this stuff. And it'll be, are you a consumer who pays $70 for the entire game, or are you somebody who pays $60 and doesn't mind like having the opportunity to spend more of that? Like it's actually two different experiences when you look at like a Madden versus like an NBA 2K, something like that.
Yep. But again, I'm all for it because I think certain games are deserving of it. I also don't have any like grand, I don't know, like profound moral ideas that all of a sudden crunch will go away. I've seen a lot of people going with that. They're like, they're going to make more money, so they're going to pay these people more and they're not going to crunch more. No, they're not.
No.
That's not how corporations work. They're going to crunch as hard as they ever did because they're going to do exactly what we've seen companies do. What are they going to do? All of the managers are going to get huge bonuses. They're going to cut staff when the game's done, right? Like that's just how this business works. Now, I also think there is a part of this whole development thing, like development costs are more than ever. And I don't necessarily want to tangent off into this, but I also think that's a part of like, well, it's because you're making games now that are 3, 4, 5+ years in the making, whereas before they were 2 and 3. I think that Sean Layden, conversation and his ideas, I think have some merit here. If your main justification is the rise of game development, it's like, well, maybe stop making games that are so big. Maybe make shorter games that come out more frequently, that you sell more often.
I kind of wish they had the transparency or somebody that's like representative of the industry, I guess, which doesn't exist, had somewhere to go like kind of what Todd Howard did, which was like, when are you guys going to stop porting Skyrim? It's like, when you guys stop buying them.
Yeah.
When are you going to stop inserting like revenue generating like factors into game development? It's like, well, when you stop spending money on this stuff.
When we stop making millions of dollars on them.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's how capitalism works.
And I know, like their argument would be, well, you won't buy it unless it's this big. I would personally disagree, but I know that I'm more that way.
There's no way that's even a thing.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that is something that I wonder when I hear that. It's like, well, the game, because here's the thing is, it's honestly, I don't see that necessarily as my wanting to have shorter games. That's not why I say it. It's my wanting this business to not be so volatile. Because I do think it's scary and it's risky now that you put in 4 or 5 years of development to make the next Destiny. But if somebody beats you to the punch by 3 months and your game flops, now you're completely out of business and developers leave, because you can't afford to have a miss. That's like, it seems like
look at BioWare.
Unless you're being subsidized by, somebody, you can't afford to swing and miss. Where maybe if you made shorter games that didn't have such a long dev cycle, maybe you could be a little bit more reactionary. Maybe you could be a little bit more risky on a smaller project without having to worry. Like, we start getting to that realm where the game doesn't make enough money, like we heard from Square Enix and Anthem and stuff like that. It didn't make enough millions of dollars to warrant its investment. And that's ultimately what I get with that. It's like, it's a really dangerous place if it's like, we need more money because developers, development costs are getting bigger because we need to make bigger and better games. Like, well, eventually the bottom's going to fall out on this.
I mean, then you really start to open it up to like the entire like business model of games. And like, there's so many factors in terms of like how much a game is going to sell, like what console is it on? Like, when do you release it? What other competition is there? Like, even what's your PR around the game? Like, are you marketing it well? There's so many, and how much do you invest in all of those things? Like, you could spend all the marketing you want in a game that's not going to sell anything. Like, it's more than just price. It's just, that's what hits us first.
Yep.
But there's so much more that goes into the profitability of every game. So it requires, I think, a conversation like this. I think that people have every right to see $70 and go, that doesn't sit well with me. But
70 is a lot closer to 100 than 60. And I mean, I know we know that, but like, seeing it, you're like, woof.
Try 80.
I know. You're basically spending $100 a game, especially if you get a digital rewards pack or a DLC or something. It's like, man, that's
Brings me right back to Game Pass, man. Every time, like you and even this notion, or I feel like it's almost a sure thing getting into what we expect on whenever we get a price that a $0 option for the Xbox Series X is going to be available, that you walk in and you walk out you don't pay anything. You walk out with a box and a contract.
Yeah.
So there's so much value to be had in the Xbox ecosystem that they just can't touch in PlayStation.
The title,
that I don't think they're willing to touch.
The title of this show is called The Cost of Ownership, which is a phrase I've been trying to coin with all of this. And I don't think a lot of people are talking enough about it. I'm not hearing enough about it as I would think so. But maybe that's just like the penny pinching deal hunter that I am. You think about these game prices are rising, new consoles are coming out, and it's the cost of ownership to adopt the Xbox ecosystem. We're all like, which console is going to be more or less than the other? It's like, how about we quit worrying about the price of the box and the cost of the first year of ownership between the two?
Mm-hmm.
It's because like, I'm going to get my Series X, I'm going to plug it in. I already have Game Pass, but even if you factored in that cost, I'm $650 into a console. Let's give that as an estimate. A year of Game Pass plus a brand new box. And I get Halo and maybe a Fable or a Forza, and maybe they throw in a Cyberpunk or something and a bunch of indies and all this stuff. Like, and I'm out the door with that price. Done. Whereas you buy another box, and I'm not saying this to deter you from buying a PlayStation. I'm not. I just feel like this is not brought up enough. And you love the exclusives that you're going to get. You're going to get your Spider-Man, you're going to get Sackboy and all that. You're going to pay $60, $70 a piece for those. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just worth it, right? Like, if you just love it and you're like, that's content I want, then it's worth it. Spend $1,000.
Yeah.
Like, you're out $1,000 this year. Like, I hope it was. But I feel like that's a factor that goes unsaid. Like, we talk about the value of Game Pass, but it's like the value of Xbox ownership. Like, the value that you get, your return on your investment seems to be through the roof right now, and only seems to be getting bigger with this news. Some of the things that I threw down in here too, I'm wondering if we'll ever start hearing, because Kevin and I game share, which makes this news so much easier to stomach, because we're already buying one, get one. Like, we basically have BOGO in everything we have. And if it goes up to $70, we'll still keep doing it. By the way, I want to say again, just in case people are hearing, I'm fine with game prices going up to $70. Don't get me wrong. I'll buy $70 games. But with that said, I wonder if we'll start hearing things like family sharing, game share. I wonder if we'll start hearing them adopting that, like Game Pass for families. You're talking about like if game prices go up, does Game Pass go up? Maybe they come up with like a Game Pass family plan where you can bring in 2 or 3 or 4 people together and you could share the price and the cost goes up or something like that. I'm wondering if these subscriptions, and that's not just a Game Pass thing, I'm wondering that across the board. Stadia, PlayStation Now, like it seems like that's the way we're going. It might take a long time to get there, but it seems like this is where we're going.
Well, because Nintendo has actually led the way on that.
Well, with the Nintendo Switch Online, sure.
Yeah, like with the Family Pass thing.
Yeah. And I think that's right.
That's the only thing.
It's so funny because we're to say this is also to give Don Matrick some credit, which I would hate to do. But it's kind of a part of that whole idea, right? It might be there again. We might be ready for it. It's like, hey, Game Pass Ultimate's $15 a month and you got all the things. Oh, you want to play with your kids or your friends? Well, now we have Game Pass Ultimate Family Plan and it doubles the price, but now you can play up to 3 people or something like that.
Right.
Maybe something like that happens.
I think you're banging on that. That is very on brand of them just trying to reduce barriers, get more people into the system, like a multiplier on a single Game Pass kind of system. It's totally, I totally expected to see them do that. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't see how, if anybody looks at this $70 and they go, ooh, that's sticker shock. Because I saw a lot of people that are like, I'm just not going to adopt next gen. I'm just going to stay on current gen. And I think that might happen I think that's going to happen just for the people that are probably more displaced with all that's going on. I think once we get back to normal, they'll jump back into next gen as the price comes down.
And that's kind of what I launched into the conversation with, was like, people will have that initial shock, but it'll normalize. You'll get back in, there'll be a point in time where that's the thing, is like, it's timing and price. And it's like, some people are going to be there on day one with the $70 and some people will be there a little while later and they'll eventually get there for that one game. They're like, yeah, this is the one that's worth it.
Yep.
And that changes their entire outlook on like, okay, well, I guess I'm okay with seeing a $70 bill on my bank statement or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like you go like, I guess I spend that now. I guess that's where I'm at.
Spot on. And what a better time to have Game Pass. And I'm going to keep saying it. I have this history. Guys, if you see a deal for Game Pass, even if you already have it, get the deal. Keep stashing codes because eventually the price will probably go up. So keep getting it while you can. Like you're just saving yourself future money. That's all you're doing. Time. So keep doing it. All right, let's close the show like we do each and every week with the Xbox One question. This one comes from Nathan. We've had this since the start of the show. I've been waiting for a good time to pull it, and I think having you on is the best time to pull the question. Yes. Xbox has become about legacy, being able to play games across all generations on one console, most of them being enhanced by the newest and latest hardware. What comes to your mind when you think about the legacy of Xbox? Is it a game? Is it a service? Is it hardware?
So when I think back to like the original Xbox, I think about like, I think they're getting right back to it here with the Series X. I think about power. Like I remember getting the original Xbox and go like, there's no games that look like this. Any third party game looked best on Xbox by far. It was way better than Dreamcast. But like, I think about power. I honestly feel like that is my history with it, especially coming from like PC land where I was getting frustrated at about that time, like 1998, 1999. I was like, okay, that's the last video card I'm going to be buying for my PC because that just cost me $700 and I can't do that like every couple of years. I was frustrated with that. And I feel like it's really interesting that this conversation kind of goes around, well, I just have a PC, so why don't I just play with that? It's like, sure, but I guarantee, I don't know if can I say guarantee, there will come a time in most of our lives where we go, I'm kind of done dropping $550 on a latest graphics card. And I kind of want to have like an affordable option that looks great and is more powerful than the other console
There comes
options.
A time when I start a game on my PC and it's like, you need a graphics update and this thing doesn't work and I get an error prompt. I'm like, I'm never doing this again.
Definitely.
It's like, I hate everything about this.
Definitely. So I think that now that they've sort of like blurred the lines, they can live in both spaces. Before, I think with the original Xbox, it was like,
they can.
Hopefully PC players will like playing here because Halo very much could have been a PC type of experience, given that we weren't really playing first person shooters then. So for me, the legacy is power and doesn't really have like, I struggle to go like, where's my nostalgia when it comes to Xbox? Like it doesn't even come close to the memories that I had on Nintendo, and it's different for everybody. but it's not like I'm.
No, I agree
I'm
with
really,
you there. I don't think they
I
have
wouldn't
a
cry at a
game.
reveal.
I don't think they have a game that's synonymous with Xbox. They definitely have big brands that people know them for, Gears, Halo. But I don't think of, when I think Xbox, I don't necessarily think Master Chief like I think Mario.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's that strong.
But it's also multiplayer too, I think, is part of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like its community is definitely part of the legacy, like where like playing multiplayer on PlayStation has historically not been a great experience, and Nintendo definitely not a great experience. But Xbox Live was like part of its inception. Like that was built into the original Xbox, and I kind of hope that like that's why I think that you're onto something with Halo being either a battle royale or some sort of like Destiny thing, because it leans into like their biggest franchise leans into where gaming is at in terms of multiplayer, right? And multiplayer really, really took off, like where games had multiplayer modes shoehorned in there, and Xbox was right there to give them a place to play with Xbox Live. So that's where when I think legacy in Xbox, it's Xbox Live and the power that and the innovation and the balls that they took with some of those moves.
You stole my word.
Put an Ethernet port.
You stole my word. My word. When I think of Xbox's legacy, I think of the word innovation. It doesn't come to a game or a service. It's kind of what Microsoft brings to the table is different. And they innovate in almost every facet possible. They innovated first with the Ethernet port, and they innovated with the graphics. They brought their knowledge of PC to the console space, and they tried to make it better. Then they took that and went another mile with live, multiplayer, all that stuff, account sharing, right? All of, not just account sharing, but all the things you could do with your account, synchronizing account, cloud
changing
data
your
save,
username.
changing your username. What have they done to the user interface? And to be honest with you, even their biggest misses, and Connect wasn't necessarily a miss. It made a lot of money, but Connect, and you look at the Xbox One and what its initial, they missed because of innovation. They were trying to push into a new realm, into a new space that folks either weren't ready or rejected. However you want to come out on it. But it wasn't because it was bad. It was they were trying to innovate. They were trying to change. We still see it. It continues to think. Game Pass, all the services that we keep having, it's still going on. That's just kind of what they do. More so, that's more important than Halo or the box or the graphics card or the teraflops or anything. Is when you get with Microsoft, they might do something weird and it might be terrible. They'll fix it. They'll fix it as fast as they can, and then they'll try to make it better. And that's one thing that I've loved about them from 360 on. That's just kind of their MO. Whereas Nintendo might be more like, what we got's good. We're going to hang out with what we have. Mm-hmm. And that's
I think
different.
PlayStation's going to do a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, and Xbox pushes the boundary. And I think those other fans and those other communities, the Nintendo and PlayStation, they're better for having Xbox around. And they may not even realize how much Xbox has changed the game for them, even if they don't like Xbox.
Just crossplay alone is proof enough of that.
That's true. Yeah. So
like
when I think
Xbox and Nintendo really did that.
Yeah. So when I think of them, that's the immediate word that comes to mind more than anything else. Innovation. Innovate in all sectors, all facets of the game. Sean, I'm running right up to your out time, so we have got to go. Let everybody know where they can follow you and the wonderful tunes of the Xbox Drive.
Guys, you can find me on Twitter. I wish I could just keep chatting on for a couple more hours. I do have to get to family and all that stuff. Maybe we should have a part 2 and give me 2 hours. I'd rather not work tonight. That would be great to just keep chatting. Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. And I'm also going to be airing this episode that we just recorded on the Xbox Drive's feed as well. So it'll be an episode of The Extra Mile coming out on Friday. So this drops on Thursday, right? So, or is it just tonight?
Tomorrow.
This will drop Wednesday.
It'll go tomorrow morning.
Okay, so Thursday, Xbox Drive drops the same day as the Xbox Empire, which is awesome. It's all the Xbox you could ever really need.
You can blame Kevin for that. This was Kevin's day. He was like, we can do Wednesdays.
It's perfect. It's totally fine. It's awesome. Yeah, you get that. And also the trophy room. See, if you want to throw a little Sony stuff in there, get the Xbox Drive, the Xbox Empire, and we'll throw a shout out to our friends at the trophy room all on Thursdays. It's a good day for that, man. So I just thank you for the call out, and thank you for changing up your schedule to have me on the show. I love podcasting with you, and it's just, we could go on forever and ever, my friend.
We really could. Yeah, we really could.
Yeah.
All right, I've got to let Sean out of here, so that's going to do it for me, folks. Come check us out in the Discord, psvg.blog/discord, and in the words of Uncle Phil, there is no power greater than X.